Okay, I guess we're gonna see if things are working. Ooh. How's it going, everyone? I guess I'm just going to start into this. Welcome. I am Matt, the Redbeard Thorup, and I'm going to be streaming for the next couple hours here, hour and a half here, and probably talking about some weird stuff. Conspiracies. That is. The ZBrush stuff is also weird, but it's less weird, I guess. So we'll be cool with that, right? Right? Yeah, that'll be fine. Let me know if you guys can hear me. If you can't, just like type furiously on the message boards right now, and I'll see what I can do. I didn't change any of my settings again from last time. So if the settings are off, then I blame the Illuminati. Obviously. I'm just making some small adjustments, like big adjustments here. Anyways, welcome to the stream. I want to, invite everyone, if this is the first time, feel free to subscribe to the YouTube videos and the whatchamacallits, YouTube, Twitch. If you have any questions, feel free to write them. Write the questions in the chats, and I'll try to answer them, even if they're non-ZBrush related. If there's questions you have that I can't answer, just continue to ask away, and possibly some people from the Pixologic crew will answer your questions later. Anyways, so what I'm doing now, this is kind of continuing pretty much right where we left off. And I'm just getting maybe more of a size ratio. There's going to be a lot of like heavy-handed adjustments. As we go into this next phase. Her neck's feeling pretty thick. Again, I'm working from a concept artist by the name of Guillermo Esteban. So I've included his chat, or not his chat, but his Instagram name here so you guys can easily find him. If you're new to me, my handle is the Redbeard. Again, I've got no branding for myself. But I do teach some Gumroad tutorials on gumroad.com/Redbeard. Okay, let's call that. That's really all the big heavy-handed stuff that I want to do right now. I'm going to just test my own audio to make sure I'm coming through. Hello. Sounds like, okay, woo! Audio is working? That's fantastic. I love when the audio works. It's like 45% of the time it doesn't work. Probably more. It's probably more like 68% of the time. How's it going? Ooh. It is red. It is. The audio is working. Huzzah. That starts off the good day if audio's working. I'm going to try to do one quick thing. I believe my audio is pushing through to my speakers, making a little bit of an echo. But it kind of sounds cool, like hello, hello, hello. But maybe that's not ideal. I'm not going to worry about it. Anyways. Hey, I don't know if you know, check out my 3D model mausoleum yet, huh? Have you checked out my 3D model mausoleum yet? I don't know if I've seen that. Send a link and I'll check it out. Okay, so some of the stuff that I'm going to be doing, last week I ended by quickly and roughly posing this lady out. With the full intent of like just getting a rough, just kind of a, what I like to call a gesture pose in 3D, where, you know, it's quick, it's going to be able to start fitting the pose, and I'll just start making heavy-handed adjustments, especially with like the cloth is going to pretty much completely change. Oh, I should probably roughly change the pose the arms. That's what I need to do. Oh my, ZBrush has got an official Discord. I would like to see it. Say your opinion also. I don't know how to say I don't think you can send a picture. I mean, you could send me a picture, sure. Yeah, send me, you can either like just send it through Instagram on the Redbeard, the _ Redbeard, and I'll take a look at it later. You know, so you guys are going to be the first to hear this. I don't know what Discord is. Well, I know what it is, but I've never used it, and I actually don't know how to use it. But I've set one up officially, and I think I'm setting up a Redbeard tutorial page where people who have taken my courses could join and get feedback, you know, from me in the group there. Okay, so I just want to quickly like get the hands. I'm not going to pose the fingers yet. Mainly, we don't have a sandwich. We got to build a sandwich, and really, I just wanted to start getting, you know, heavy-handedness again. So this is not going to be very clean, but that's just fine. So what I'm doing to quickly make polygroups is I am just lassoing mask and then hitting Control W. And this just makes it so I can easily grab these and pose them. So let's pose this arm that's here. What I normally like to do with like hard joints that bend and pose, I'll normally do a blur mask, and then I will blur the part that's going to be like a harder transition. Let's move that to right where the joint is. So like with the elbow, I know that this is I want this to be a lot harsher. Then I want the end to be a little bit more flexible. So I'm going to do a blur mask and then go back in with my lasso and just kind of lasso that inner crook of the elbow. Place this gizmo right where the joint is. See, and that way I just get a lot harder line, like where those fold like that. Right there, yeah. See that right there? That's what I want. And this is going to be stretched out a little bit more. And then manually I can kind of mush things around. And again, this is all just heavy-handed stuff that I'm doing here. Let's see. What's the name on Discord? I don't know. I'm just setting it up. I can't even remember the name. I haven't sent out any invites to it yet. So I'll get that to you. Hey, folks. Just hopping on to know the stream and in chat that y'all are beautiful and remember to stay hydrated and grab some snacks. Here, here. Let's stay hydrated. Zick the artist. Hey, Matt. Can't wait until life is back to normal and I can visit your booth again at the Lightbox. Oh, man. Lightbox 2041 is going to be the best. Woo! Yes, I can't wait. I was signed up to be have a booth in 2020, and I think I'm still signed up for 2021. Let's make that a polygroup real quick. So here's hoping. I mean, I honestly think that things are going to get back to normal pretty quickly once summer hits. I mean, that's the hope. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Again, heavy-handedness. I'm not worried about this. Are the sculpts in the BG models you've done? I don't know if I understand the question. Are the sculpts in the BG models you've done? I don't know if I understand that question. Oh, the background, these guys. Okay, yeah. Some of them are and some of them aren't. The Iron Giant here. There we go. The background. There. The Iron Giant is from Moto, which is awesome. This one is the Alan Aladale from Andreas Blase, sculptor, traditional sculptor. It was one of his casts. This is amazing. This little guy is camera. Let's see. Obviously something. Let's see if I can get my camera going again. Camera's up and going again. Okay, so this guy here, that's actually, oh my gosh. Maybe I cannot have a camera. Camera not available. Oh, I'm back up. We're not going to touch. Anyways, so this guy here, he's one of my sculpts. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Okay, let's see if that fixes my camera. Just trying a different USB port for it. I was having troubles last time. Anyways, this guy here, he's one that I sculpted. This is from another artist. This is from Sean Galloway. That is from Chris Sanders. This one I sculpted here. I sculpted that one. And this is a collab that I did with Brett Bean, and then I sculpted these two. And this one, I believe, is an Humberto Ramos, Francisco Herrera. No, it's an Humberto Ramos character, which is fantastic. So some of these I did sculpt, some of them I didn't. And that, of course, is Keanu Reeves, and he's looking over me to make sure that I'm safe. So, hey, it's John Adams. Guys, I think we've just been graced with a celebrity. Ashley Adams is here. Please, everyone, follow her. She's pretty much the most talented, fastest sculptor that I've ever seen in my life. So, follow her. Ooh, what's the good conspiracy tonight? No celebrity. No. The conspiracy, I've thought about this a lot, and I think, I mean, if you guys are ready for it, the conspiracy that I'd really like to hit on tonight is pretty controversial, and may ruffle some feathers. I'm pretty sure feathers will be ruffled. Are you guys ready for it? I don't think you're ready for it. I don't think I should get into it. Maybe I should save it. Maybe I should tell you what the conspiracy is that I want to talk about, and then, let it simmer, and then we'll dive into it, because it's gonna light the fires. I fell for your clickbait title. It's for real. We're doing this. Okay, so what I want to talk about is the conspiracy that Paul McCartney is dead and died when he was with the Beatles in 1967. It was 1967 or 1964, I can't remember. It was one of those dates. I know, don't get mad, I know. But this is for real, guys. This is as real as it comes. Has anybody heard of this conspiracy that Paul McCartney died while he was in the Beatles, like at the height of their stardom? And it's actually like, there's some pretty good accreditations to it because of some weird stuff. So let's go story time on this. You guys ready for story time? Any advice for someone who just started in ZBrush? Subdivisions are your friends. And start with low polys and build up from there. But also just have fun with it. Okay, so imagine you're the Beatles. You are the #1 band, not only in London, but in the world. And you've just released an album. You guys are rocking and being the best, and all of a sudden, one of the two lead singers dies in a car accident. Did you hear Willie Nelson died? He was playing on the road again. Oh, is that real? I don't know if I've heard that. They just weekend and burning him. No. So this is the story: is that he died in a car accident, and it was actually reported on a London air that Paul McCartney at like 6:40 in the morning died in a car accident, and it was actually like in local news of like in the city that the car accident happened, that Paul McCartney died. And so the story goes that the Beatles, being too big to not have Paul McCartney anymore, needed to find a replacement. So what happens in that same year that he died or didn't die, the Beatles held a Paul McCartney, and this is all very real, by the way, what I'm getting at. They actually had a Paul McCartney look-alike contest. And they had the winner got an undisclosed prize. And this is all like very, very real. Like it was this little local look-alike thing. And the Beatles kind of like, I don't know, this is the genius of the Beatles, is that, so they have this look-alike contest, and in the next album that they release, there is a thank you to some guy who has a little bit of a beard, and he has kind of he's got not shaggy hair, but lighter hair than Paul McCartney normally had. And there's a thank you to him in the album cover, like in the back of the album cover for some reason, and they don't really say why. And so the theory is that this guy, he's the guy who won the look, and he looks actually a lot like Paul McCartney. He, if you take off the beard, I'm going to backpedal this. I'm going to change that decision there. I want you guys to like, I'm not in the middle of this. That's why it's horking so much. So they have this thank you to him. And so, and whether Paul McCartney died or not, the Beatles knew about this conspiracy. And it was in the time of their height, it was a pretty well-known conspiracy. I mean, there's sites dedicated to Paul McCartney's dead conspiracy. It's so wonderful. But the cool thing is, in a lot of their songs, they hint at Paul McCartney being a fake and that he's dead, and that he's not him anymore. So like in the cover of Abbey Road, everyone is walking with their right foot in front of them, but Paul McCartney is walking with his left foot in front of him to symbolize that he's the imposter, that he's the one who doesn't belong. In one of the songs, what's the song? All you need is love. And you can go listen to this right now. If we could buy the rights to this song, we would do it. Believe you me. I'll talk to the guys at Pixologic, see if we can buy the rights to this song. Anyways, at the end of the song, the band's kind of coming down. You hear, I love you, yeah, yeah, yeah. And, they kind of they bring in all these other songs, or they're singing a bunch of other things and just kind of singing. And you hear John Lennon say, yes, he's dead. It's very, very clear, very, very clear that he says, yes, he's dead. Also, like, little things of, like, there's a bunch of other symbolisms to a bunch of their songs that all point to that Paul McCartney died. Which is just crazy. It's way insane that, like, oh yeah, he could be dead. Anyways, that's my... Anyways, he's a great imposter if he's an imposter. I'd still buy tickets to go see Paul McCartney. that's one of the rumors that they think that that John Lennon was going to talk about it. He was going to come forward, and that's why he got shot. Was one of the theories too. Paul McCartney is one rich billionaire zombie after buying back Beatles music from Michael Jackson. Paul McCartney had a regular stance on Abbey Road. Left foot forward, the others were all goofy. Yeah, see, it's all real. It's all real. All conspiracies are real. Anyways, what I want to get at is that no, all conspiracies aren't real. They are fun. Just isolating some of these polygroups a little bit so I can better get at them. Rip Paul, he's dead. Snowbirds. Oh yeah, he's regular footed. The others were goofy footed. Anyways, there's some great, and there's the funny thing is they show pictures of him, and I think that there's a record between when he died and Abbey Road that he came in and replaced. So they have pictures of like before that album and after that album of how Paul McCartney's face physically changes. Like his nose completely changes, his jaw gets different, you know, and it could just be plastic surgery, sure. But the more realistic answer is that he died and is dead. And that's definitely the more plausible answer. Ooh, what? Redbeard, what up? Hey, Diablo 7 Apparel. Not up. Red bread. Red bread. Sergio, how's it going? A question, Matt. Then to give the model a pose is necessary to make... a question, Matt. Then to give the model a pose, is it necessary to make a polygroup? So to make a pose in ZBrush, you know, I've found that the easiest way to do it is to have high and low subdivisions. Because if you're working with just high subdivisions, then it makes it really hard. And then if you're going to have low subdivisions, then you might as well do some polygroups to make your life a little bit easier when you're trying to, like this part here inside, you know, next to the arm, next to the body, that's going to be really hard to sculpt if I don't have polygroups. So by quickly isolating those, and now I can just focus on like little bits of the arm or inside of the jacket and then outside of the jacket all separately without having to clash or worry too much, then yeah, that's, I would say work with polygroups, work in high and lows, especially if you're posing, because posing something that's really high in vertices is going to just not deform very well versus this where it's not perfect, but like that's easily, I can fix that really, really quick. So anyways, let's do it right now. Also, the inflate brush is fantastic for things like this. Now, this is where I'm going to start getting a little bit more heavy-handed and liberal as I'm going to adjust some of these proportion sizes. But what I now, kind of the part about, you know, sculpting in pose that you have to get used to is just if you're making, you know, big proportional changes, just to make sure that you're doing it to the opposite side. See, this is one big, like, Horkin thing. It's a one big Horkin thing. But the goal is to not ever have to see this, so you can't see that hork too much. Any updates on my new tutorial? No. How to pose the fingers. So what I like to do for the fingers is I like to bring them out into different subdivisions, and I might get to this later, or not subdivisions. What I like to do is make sure that they're in their own different polygroups. And normally I like to combine, at this point, when I'm pretty solid, I like to combine the fingernails with the actual fingers. So when I'm bending them, I'm not doing two movements, I'm doing one. And either I'll do this in the I'll just combine them in the subtools, or I'll go into Transpose Master and do it there. But doing it here where I'm kind of focusing more on the micro changes, what I do is just kind of, I want to make sure that I'm polygrouping the digits out. So I've got, oops. Don't tell Joseph, but I've switched to right trick navigation. He's going to be so disappointed in me. So I'll break him out into this so I can grab them. So if I want to, for example, just bend that front part of the finger, like so. What I'm going to do is Control tap to isolate that, and then Alt click and drag up. So now my 3D gizmo is, in line with that finger, and I'm just going to move this origin to the place of the pivot. So I might have to twist it while I'm holding Alt. And then I just, make that bend. But sometimes I like to, make sure I'm grabbing off maybe the top of that knuckle so that the top of that knuckle stays a little bit more firm for part of it, and then bend it in. So, but I like to do the whole fingers, all the hands at once, so I'll get to that later. Because right now we're just working on getting like the gestural pose still. Comic Legends, any update? Yeah, no updates on the new tutorial. Still a work in progress. Yeah, that's, how would you exaggerate weight on this pose or make it more expressive? So what I want to do is give her a little bit more, we're actually going to do it right now. So now that she's more gesturally, this is a good question of how do you exaggerate weight on this pose. So right now her pose is pretty stiff. Like you look at her and she's pretty, but you look at this, her weight, this is good. We're gonna dissect this pose a little bit more. Okay, so to dissect this pose a little bit more, her weight is kind of like right here. She's kind of like got this kind of like it's all pushed down into the floor right here. So I want to do that. And then there's the secondary weight of her shoulders, which are kind of curving forward. So she's kind of in this lumped, bad posture position. And I want to start exaggerating that. When I look at this, I think the pose is kind of there. Like it's hitting the right keynotes, but it's missing the weight and the exaggeration, right? So I want to start dissecting this and saying, okay, if the weight's going to be more towards the bottom, where like she's maybe slinking into the chairs, she's slinking into the bench, you know, she's probably maybe not have a back, he probably doesn't have a backrest on this, and she's just kind of like supporting all of her weight on her butticus. That's what I want to start now pushing forward. So because I've already got the majority of like the pose where I want it, I can now start being a little bit more daring with how I'm going to start exaggerating this. And I want to break this up just a little bit. So I'm not, you know, destroying everything. Okay, so now that I've got this, I can switch to my, I'm just going to use my move brush, but I'm going to do mask by polygroup, and I'm going to turn that up to like 50. So because if this is up all the way, if I move this, it's only going to move that touching polygroup. So I'm not going to move anything else, but because I want it to affect the weight a little bit, but not really touch too much of the arm, if I go to 50, it's still going to manipulate the adjacent polygroup, but it's not going to do too much. I'm hoping be a little bit lower, maybe 40. So I'm just going to start pulling her weight down a little bit more. Oh yeah, thanks. The concept is by an artist by the name of Guillermo Esteban out of Madrid. He's a fantastic character artist. He's probably one of my more recent favorite artists that I've been watching lately. He just seems to have a really good grasp of character design, and you know, really makes unique shapes with his characters. And start rounding these shoulders forward too. So she, you know, it goes from this to this. You know, sorry about that. I just apparently I'm in a mood. So I know that I'm without a doubt, I'm breaking the anatomy underneath 100%. Like this stuff right here is all broken. The knees are all jacked. Like all this stuff is more or less dead. But I'm not going to worry about that, you know, at this moment. There's a couple things I need to do. Like this one particular shoulder's flying out just a little bit. So I'm going to bring that back in. You know, I'm getting some horkiness here, so fix some of that. Let's see. It's like the default one. Oh, let's see. Yeah, the default one is very dark. I like a little bit brighter. I mean, obviously my UI, I like to spunk it up a little bit. So I agree. I like a lighter background. It's like when things are so dark and you're using like dark matte caps, which sometimes I'll do. Like this is probably my darkest matte cap, but if it's not standing out very much, then it gets more difficult. Anyways, now I want to really kind of accentuate kind of this push. You know, her bad posture. Maybe pull her hips forward. And again, this is, you know, if I was doing like look dev for a movie or even for a video game where we're trying to find like this isn't a final product or final production model, right? So I'm not worried about these things. This is just like free sculpting. Do I use T-pose preserved symmetry? I've never really gotten the T-pose preserved symmetry to work very well. Which methods do you think are the easiest for posing and more accurate in ZBrush? Honestly, I think the best way is just low subdivisions. You're working low to high, and you know you are working in transpose master. And you're just making, you know, subtle changes. But this way is a little bit harder. Especially, I mean, posing's hard, but especially if you're like, this is more concept development, so I'm making volume adjustments asymmetrically to kind of hopefully, I'm gonna put in a little bit more tilt. So it has, try to explain what I'm doing. I'm trying to give her this. She has a little bit, but I'm really gonna accentuate it. So now I can pop this shoulder up a little bit more, this shoulder a little bit down. And then that feels a little bit more lively. But see, this compared to, let's look at it. To this. I mean, this is already feeling a lot more life. Like it's already got a lot more weight. Some of these things have more impact. And though it's still very messy and dirty, it's still starting to come across. I wouldn't necessarily recommend posing this way for everything, as this way is more like loosey-goosey. But if I'm just in it for like the R&D, you know, I'm just trying to sell this character, mood, maybe pitch this to the art directors, the directors themselves. I want to, you know, have as much personality on this as I can, and breaking it from like the regular T-pose, you know, and giving it a real life kind of like weighted pose is going to be a lot more effective. Let's bring this back in. I'm going to do a save because I've been pushing her around a bunch. would you consider rigging your 3D characters low poly and add Z spheres for bones as an easy workflow? I really used to love working with the Z sphere rig in ZBrush. I've gotten a lot faster just doing transpose and kind of doing the stuff that I'm doing here. I do wish, this is kind of like a secret wish list for me, is I wish they would revisit the Z-sphere rigging, because I thought it was a really powerful tool, but it just was never polished. And it came out a long time ago. You know, they've done some really cool stuff since then. So if I wanted to secretly wish something for ZBrush or Pixologic crew to work on, it would be a revamp of the Z-sphere rig. So I could pose a little bit quicker in this for sure. But as far as like taking it out and posing it outside, it's probably not worth my time, as I'm faster to just do it all in ZBrush. Let's see. Hey, I'm a beginner at sculpting. I have a question. Can we make the sculpt in T shape and then pose her at last, or is it better to use... No, it's better to make the T pose first. Like if you watch my streams, I first made her, you know, roughly as it was in T pose. And then now that I'm like, I just kind of want to, this is just purely look dev, or I should say, this is just purely for funsies, as they call it in the industry. For funsies. Kind of had the, oh yes man, I'm Paul McCartney too, I'm not dead, what are you talking about, kind of vibe to it. But yes, work in T-pose, and then once you're more solidified, then pose. For example, when we were working on Disney Infinity, what we would do is we would sculpt out the characters and get them to like not 90, but we got them to about 80%, you know, approved by art director and maybe by production too. And then we would start posing, and the proportions would definitely change. Like we'd get feedback, or we'd want to try some things to really push some stuff, and that the characters would change quite a bit in pose. That's why I say we took them about 80%. And then we'd pose those and get them ready for production, to print, or to go into manufacturing. And then we would go back to the A pose again and make those changes that we made on the posed model. So, you know, so if we did like a thicker leg, or, you know, a thicker bust or something, to emphasize the character a bit more. Just trying to quickly block in some bigger folds. I love her proportions. Yeah, me too. He's doing his more fun. Yes, sure. Quick question. Would you suggest running through tutorials on YouTube, or taking an actual Udemy course, such as for ZBrush? So my opinion is that you can do either. So I'm a very strong believer that it's not necessarily where you go to school, it's how you learn. So if you work better in a guided structure with, you know, with people that you require to submit every so often, I think that would be a really good investment, is going into a place like Udemy or I mean, there's a lot of really good online schools that are doing stuff nowadays, or even just going through like Gumroad tour. I teach Gumroad courses that are self-guided, but that's again self-guided. If you find yourself as like a more self-motivated person, you know, YouTube videos and Gumroad courses that are good could help you out along the ways. But if you need a little bit more structure, then I think you can go wherever. I mean, there's not a wrong way to go, as long as like you're putting in the effort and learning. So whatever is best for you, I guess. I want to kind of replicate video game character type things. Yeah, so it depends, because there's ZBrush is one aspect of the pipeline. And I get asked this quite a bit too, is like, is knowing ZBrush really well enough to get you a job in the industry? And I used to think maybe. Now I think probably not, just because most people are wanting you to know the full pipeline, because even if you are just a ZBrush artist on the pipeline, you still are required to know how things will translate into a low poly or animatable form. And so if you're building something that's more or less impossible to rig correctly or to retopologize, then it's useless, right? It's not useful to pretty much anyone on the team if you don't know the full pipeline. So you do need to learn Maya and probably how to retopologize properly. And there's probably very few really good courses out there that teach that whole pipeline. Not that there aren't, but maybe just doing some courses just strictly to learn that aspect could be a worthy investment too. Hope that answers that question. Meant more along the lines of learn the app from nothing, or how to do best specific subtasks like adding greebles to a surface. So in that case, if you're like learning from ZBrush to nothing, there are a lot of really good YouTube courses out there. I'm blanking on his name. Michael Polovich has got some fantastic courses, like from zero to everything. I mean, he covers like every single feature. They can be a little overwhelming, but they are definitely a good, like if you don't know anything, like from navigation to simple selection stuff, his intro course is really thorough. I've got an intro course as well. It's not quite as thorough as that. It's more meant for someone who knows the bare minimum of navigation, but it's more meant for like the beginner that knows how to move around in ZBrush, but doesn't necessarily know all the hotkeys and all the fine stuff. So I'd say Michael Palovich's course is gold. He's a fountain of knowledge, and I refer to him still for stuff that he does, because he's just, you know, takes knowing the software of ZBrush to a whole new level. Kmos. Yeah, so Piche, I mean, if instead of, I mean, you could go through his to courses again. I mean, you're welcome to check out my courses too, if you think that you're ready to just dive in. I like the way that Michael Palovich teaches, I like, is because he just kind of goes, okay, so this is this menu, this is this tool, this is exactly how you use it. And he goes through that kind of step over and over and over, which is really, really helpful to learn like the full system. The approach that I like to use is a little different. I'm mostly just teaching you as we go. Like, okay, so now we're going to use this mask lasso. We're going to do this on this character. And like, it's a little bit more like in-world practice of the tools. I don't go over all the tools. I go over the tools that I use, which is a good thing and, you know, a bad thing, you could say, because I'm very comfortable with the tools that I use, but maybe it's not to the full extent that you could use ZBrush. So just different ways of doing stuff. Now it's time to fix this gal's arm. Giddy up. Okay. Now, because I, modeled a decent T-pose out of her, and had a decent, topology to her even. I mean, you can see it's not fantastic. If this isn't necessarily, it's close to animatable, but it's not. But the geometry and the overall points are there. So making corrections when I've horked the geo, which I've already done, like her neck needs to, let's just fix all this stuff. What is this pointy thing? Well, I'll fix that. Got a few pointers. Oh, so this is like ZRemesher stuff, but you're never going to see it, so I'm not going to worry about it. This is probably something that I would have corrected on a more pristine thing, but with this, I'll just not worry about that. Oh, I carried my bike 3 floors down daily 2 times to go from work to the office, so I could learn ZBrush on my own and keeping my job nice. I'd totally do that again. ZBrush is a wonderful software. ZBrush is a wonderful software. Mainly good to use for 3D printing. For me personally, I have a ton of 3D printers. Yes, I actually have a 3D printing course as well. Okay, time for the shameless plug, because we're talking about courses and stuff. So redbeard.com/gumroad, or I think it says gumroad.com/redbeard, either way. So I have this intro. I'm gonna get ready for this. It's gonna blow your socks off. Anyways, I go over, who's that handsome devil? Dang. Anyways, I go over kind of step by step, starting from a sphere and learning different character design principles and teaching how to make this young lady here. One that we go over and learn some 3D printing stuff, which is pretty fun. And sorry, my trailers that I make are obviously crazy. If you don't want to jump into any of these, I do have a couple of free courses. So this Z sphere to base mesh, which is kind of outdated because I think they've changed some of this, so I might update this one a little bit here. But this one that says $15 is actually free when you just put in your code wash hands. This is something that I did since we've kind of had lockdown, giving people just a way to learn, I guess, for free. So you can see how I teach and see if any of this works for you. So anyways, I've got a handful of courses, more that are coming at redbeard.gumroad.com. Okay. Shameless self-promotion over. Yes, the power of will. Hey Lucy, long time no see. How's it going? I'll check yours out. Yeah, just start. You start with the free stuff, and if you like it, then you could shoot for some more. Ooh, I did a lot of Fusion 360. So I have mechanical design shenanigans under control. Yes, that stuff's the fun stuff. I want to learn. I need some courses on that because there's a lot of fun stuff to be done with that. You. What is going on with you here, sir? Sometimes it just has some really horky geo, this ZBrush, and it's bugging me a little bit too much. But I already have like subdivisions on here, so I'm not gonna spend too much time trying to fix this. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay. Hair's gonna cover the rest of that. But this is back to why I was doing this, adjusting proportions, like slimming up her neck, getting that overall profile. And while I'm taking just a little bit of time to kind of adjust some of the anatomy underneath it, you're never going to see, this. But if I have the anatomy correct underneath, the clothes will lay a little bit better in the end. So I don't want to take too much time because I want to work on the elbows and like this stuff. More if like the forearm is okay. The part that's visible, like if it's twisting the right way, which this is not currently twisting the way that I want it to look. The weight and curve of that is going to be on the outside. Anyways, I'm not worrying about this. I could worry about it. I normally do. This is like my self-anxiety that like, I could worry about that. But I have to tell myself that nobody's going to see it. Worry about the outside fold. I'm going to fix this geo a little bit too. She's got her slump. We're just going to polish that out because you will see a little bit of body definition underneath that shirt. These kind of fat pockets that rest on the sides here. And that twist. So the twist, which I put in, is just a little bit there. It's going to follow that line. So I'm going to just push that in, reinforce it. Okay, that's looking a little bit better. Kind of fun hearing what the different Pixo streamers listen to. Yeah, this is... I honestly don't know. I like blues music. This is just whatever royalty-free stuff that I can find. I actually kind of dig it. Okay, what's the next? Let's get into the conspiracies a little bit more. Okay, so we covered, for those of you who weren't here, we covered Paul McCartney's dead. We now all know that for a fact, right? Everyone, huh? We all get it? Paul McCartney's dead. Look it up. There was a really good website long ago. It was just dedicated to it, and it was so good, but I bet it's probably gone. So like this is one of the before and after pictures. So this, yeah, so he died in 1966, and then the next year they replaced him. So if you look, like his eye slants are slightly different, his eyebrows are thinner, he all of a sudden has a chin and a jaw. These little things, that's not the same. But yeah, this is one of the best conspiracies. You want to start looking that one up. It's so good. Okay, I'm gonna keep working on these folds a little bit on this jacket. My goodness. Keep talking too much. Feels like music would be in an old diner where you meet up with a friend to talk about conspiracy. It is. It's exactly the station that I'm listening to. It's conspiracy theory and friend hangout. And like meat fries. Where they just put meat on French fries for some reason. And it's like, oh yeah, that's the stuff. Okay, so have I talked about on this the moon landing is fake? Have I talked about that? Yes, author Joe Holt. I think I'm echoing because I've got something on. Hold on here. And Twitch just recommended your channel. Thanks, Twitch. Oh, man. Way to go. Feel free to subscribe. I'm supposed to say that. Subscribe to the YouTube. If you have questions, put them in the chat. I'll try to answer them. And if not, you know, these Pixo geniuses, they'll get it. They know. Okay, so I don't know if I've talked about this definitely haven't talked about it in a while. It's been a while. Hey, thanks, PJ. Yeah, and if you have any questions, just shoot me a message, and I'll get back to you. I like to, it may not be immediate. It may be within a day. I do try to respond to all the questions that come in. So, yeah, thanks for coming by and for your questions and comments. Okay, so the conspiracy of the day. Let's see. Of the second one, because Paul McCartney's dead, and now we know, is the moon landing was fake. And let's set this up, because we need a good setup. Like, well, why would the moon landing be fake? I've seen the Fox documentary about this. First off, the Fox documentary on this was horrible, but great comedy. My Redbeard, the Redbeard, what's this? Oh, sorry, what did I say? I apologize. Again, I am the worst self-promoter in the world. My handle is the _ Redbeard _ art. That's me. I think the Redbeard 3D was an old thing that I had for a day, and then decided that I do more than 3D, and switched that to the Redbeard art. So it's the Redbeard art. Yeah, no problem. Anyways, back to the movie being fake. Okay, so let's set this up. Is that we are in the time where it's a space race, and the U.S. is losing to the Soviets, and it's a big deal. We're trying to show that we are a powerful technology. The Cold War is kind of happening, and we're trying to prove that we are awesome. And the space race was a big thing. Like if we needed to win to go to the moon before Russia did, or before anyone else did. The Soviets, I should say. And there was a lot of line, and the U.S. kept having malfunctions. Rockets kept exploding. They had all these problems of like unmanned vessels just not being able to work. And so comes the time where, okay, they're getting some stuff working, and now we're going to go land on the moon. And not only are we going to land on the moon, but we're going to broadcast that we're landing on the moon, and it's got to be live. And this is something that's never been done. We've never broadcasted from the moon before. We have no idea. So in steps the government and our good pal Stanley Kubrick. So Stanley Kubrick, he is a fantastic director, and was doing stuff at the time that was so advanced as far as like what filmmakers were doing to fake a large scene scenario with screens and stuff. And he developed this screen technology where, let's see if I can describe this. I'm so glad that we get to just talk about things. So he developed this thing where you built a set, and the set had, rocks and rubble, and it had a horizon line. And then all the real physical set was here. Maybe a little tree. And then he developed this technology where you set a screen at the horizon line, and then all of this was projected, either projected or it was just like a flat screen, where it was just had a big image on it, which had never been done, but it gave the illusion that you were now looking far off into the distance. So he comes up with this screen, and he just did his movie. What did he do? He did Doctor Strangelove, where he showcased this, and they have this really big scene where the bomber is flying over and it's about to release the big hydrogen bomb, and the cowboy military guy is on top of it. Yee-hoo! It's a very iconic scene. Yeah, the depth of field illusion, yes. And they're faking this flyover scene, and it's this thing that's never been done before. Oh, it was so amazing. And so they approached Stanley Kubrick. This is the conspiracy, by the way. I'm explaining the lore of the conspiracy. Something with this sounds right. There is something wrong. Okay, I'm going to turn down my sound and see if this fixes it. Is that better? Okay, let's see if this fixed my headset. Anyways, so what happens is the U.S. has got so much on the line that they're like, we can't lose the space race. There's so much riding for us. We pumped in billions. We're still unsure of our technology, if we can even land on the moon, let alone broadcast on it. And so they approached this Stanley Kubrick after he comes out with this groundbreaking movie, Dr. Strangelove, where he does these really crazy techniques. And they approach him and said, hey, we need you to fake the moon landing. And if you do this, we'll owe you. And so the rumor goes that Stanley Kubrick says, okay, whoa. Yeah, fake the moon landing sounds awesome. Everyone's doing it right. But in exchange for faking the moon landing, my stipulation is that I get unlimited funding for all of my movies from here to eternity. That was the stipulation. And if you look at Stanley Kubrick's career, he goes from making Dr. Strangelove to making 2001 Space Odyssey, where his budget for those two films is like $100 million difference. And in those days when he was making these films, like $100 million is basically like $1 billion today. It's ridiculous. What's going on with my cursor? Why aren't you working? So that's one of the rumors, is that he said yes so he could have his unlimited budget. So he comes up with this 2001 Space Odyssey, which is this beautiful film, and he uses that fake depth of field technology that he patented, which you can kind of see in like the moon landing videos. You kind of see this horizon line in all the videos and all the pictures and everything of like, okay, you could basically draw out where that screen would come down, where they would project background onto it. And so the idea is that, okay, he's going to fake it, and because who knows what's going to happen. And so the rumor goes that he goes ahead and he fakes the moon landing, and it's this great success. And now Stanley Kubrick he's one of very few people that know that the moon landing has been faked. And so his career takes off even more. He's making all these crazy movies. And then the theory is that he's kind of like stressed out of his gourd and has to share that he did it, that he faked the moon landing. The moon landing is not real, and that he can't keep it in anymore. And so he makes the movie The Shining, which has it makes some pretty big changes to the book and really weird changes. The idea is that they did this because this is Stanley Kubrick. He used The Shining as his confession. Like, that's his confession movie. And then the idea is after The Shining, he goes even more into his confession movies and makes Eyes Wide Shut, which, you know, we all know that he died in the making of, and that movie is all about a secret cabal, a secret group of people doing weird, shady stuff. But the movie changed quite a bit after he dies, supposedly. Supposedly. Anyways, so back to the Shining. He's using this movie as his confession letter. And there's some really weird stuff that happens. Like, there's the meeting that he has with the hotel manager, and there's all this. Can you hear me, guys? Yes. Oh no, am I still going crazy? Um, Sound is good. Okay, so now sound is good. I'm gonna keep with the sound. Am I using sound effects? Probably. Whatever I did, it changed. Okay, I'm not gonna change it. Anyways, so the idea is that now, so the manager's office is like is like set up to look like the Oval Office almost. It's really weird. You know, there's a big American flag, there's an eagle. It looks like the president's desk, and there's pictures of the president's desk and the office, the hotel manager who is telling Jack Nicholson about what his life is going to be like and what his expectations are. And he's like, okay. And then there's all these references to Apollo 11 all throughout the movie. There's posters of Apollo 11. There's NASA posters all throughout the movie for some reason, which really wasn't a big deal. You know, it wasn't even in the books. Like, they don't mention Apollo 11. Like, why would they? The whole movie's about this thing. But it all kind of culminates to Jack going crazy. And there's a scene. I'm going to find this. This is the best. So I can explain this really well. So yes. Okay. So there's this scene where the little boy is playing on the ground. This is the best part of the movie. So the little boy is playing on the ground, and he's playing on this carpet that looks like the NASA, the Space Kennedy shuttle launch area. It's the Pentagon shape. He even has like the cars and stuff drawn out to where, like, how it was for the Apollo 11 launch. And then he stands up, the little boy stands up, and he's wearing, oh no, I lost it. And he's wearing an Apollo 11 sweater that's the rocket ship. So he's symbolizing this rocket ship flying up into outer space. That he is now the rocket ship in this. And he goes to room, I'm being very dramatic about this. Then he goes to room 237, which is different from the book. The book is like room 214 or 2 something, but it's a very specific number in the book. Anyways, he walks up to room 237, and the reason it's 237 is because the moon is 237,000 miles away from the Earth. And this is symbolizing because everything in that room in the movie is fake, is a lie. That's like what the thing is. And this is what he's like getting to, is that the moon landing was a fake. Which is I mean, this is what the idea of it is. It's really, really crazy. Anyways, there's some great documentaries about this. Just written about Stanley Kubrick faking the moon landing, and then later, like, him getting ready to do his next reveal with Eyes Wide Shut. And apparently they changed a bunch of that movie after he died. And he died of like mysterious circumstances of like a cold, when he was supposedly like really doing okay. Anyways, so the idea is he faked the moon landing, that Stanley Kubrick faked the moon landing. And what you gonna do about it, huh? What you gonna do about it? Oh, let's see. I love conspiracy theories. My father is obsessed by the universe. Yes. That's awesome. ZBrush Princess. Very awesome. Can we talk about the inner Earth or flat Earth next? Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. So the documentary, yes, it's a documentary. Let me clarify what my stance is on these. On all the conspiracies that I talk about, is I believe that they are fun, and I like to know the history and the lore of them. Do I believe in any of these conspiracies? Most of them I don't. What I believe with the moon landing is that there was so much on the line that we could not fail, that the US had to land on the moon, and it had to be public, and it had to be shown, that we probably had a backup plan, that we probably had a fake video ready to go, but I think we landed on the moon. I like the funness of conspiracies, so that's my belief on it. Okay, so I got another question. As we keep sculpting, we're here for the sculpting, right, guys? A little bit for the conspiracies. So the inner Earth is one of the funnest. Besides, I think my favorite is the Stanley Kubrick. What is that? I want to find the Kubrick documentary really quick. I think it is Room 237. It's called Room 237. Anyways, check it out. It's pretty great. Fantastic. Anyways, back to the Inner Earth Society. Okay, so the Inner Earth, or the Hollow Earth conspiracy, is this one's a fantastic one, especially if you love conspiracies. This one has got some really deep roots to it, which is fun. I like the ones with deep roots that like go back a really, really long time. And that's kind of what the Inner Earth Society has. So the idea is that the Earth is hollow, that inside the Earth there are vast caverns that are sizes of like cities, states even, and it's a big inner, what's the word to say? Like a big inner galaxy pit stop as well. So like it's an intergalactic alien hangout / civilization where the Anunnaki and Celestials and all these alien beings have come and decided that this is the spot that they want to chill when they come to Earth. So I have to laugh because it's like when you really talk about it, it's so funny. Anyways, so the idea is that in Antarctica, and you brought this up, I think I saw the comment about in Antarctica there are portals or caverns. This is where people enter the Earth, the Inner Earth Society. And all the governments, like all the major governments know about this, and all the leaders of major governments have visited Antarctica and stayed for like a week or two at a time. And this goes back to like Ronald Reagan type times, like World War II. I guess it goes back to like World War II where like the Nazis and Hitler, they wanted to get, there's like documentation, they wanted to get to Antarctica and to get the technology that was hidden there for some reason. Like there's a lot of weird quests that he sent out, Hitler sent out these massive fleets to try to convoy and to kind of claim Antarctica as their own, I should say. And so the idea is there's these caverns, these holes that you go in, you enter, which is basically just a portal, because then it's got to like, I imagine it's just a big tube like in Futurama and sucks you in and shoots you out, because it would probably take a long time to travel that far into the Earth by foot. It's only conspiracy if it's not true. I've seen Hollow Earth. Someone got a hold of some old D&D books, but it's great. So the great thing about this is that there is the people who claim to believe that there's this Inner Earth Society where there's, several different races of intergalactic beings, run by these celestial beings that are human-like but prettier, apparently. And they live forever. They're ageless, and those guys are really running the show, and we have treaties to not bug them. And so what it comes down to is like basically so there's a story. Let's talk about a story about this Inner Earth Society. So apparently there was a expedition by what is known by a program that's the secret space. What is it? The Secret Space Agency, which is called the Secret Space Agency. There's very few people, and they got a group together. One, the general, and then they were interviewing. This is great. And this is, if you want to watch this is one of the most hilarious interviews out there. It's on Gaia.com. This is like showing you what I do with my free time. This is horrible. Like what I listen to while I'm sculpting all day. I'm so sorry. I gotta say, Redbeard, you are making my overtime go. Oh, good. I'm so glad. I'm so glad it's not making it longer. Anyway, anyways, so on Gaia, there's this interview, and the interview is with this supposed the general's assistant, like his peon. And the peon is giving the interview, and he's recapping like what happened. And the funny thing is, like, he keeps talking. The secret space program is what it's called, not the secret space agency. He's kind of like, the whole time he's talking about how he's so great, and when they got there, the aliens were all really interested in him and not the general, and it was making the general really mad, and and how, you know, he was like the favorite. And then he kind of like talks about how he's so great and how his general was really mad that he was getting all this attention when they were inside the inner Earth society talking to these aliens and these celestial beings. And then he culminates it with, and this is so bad. It's so, like, when I was listening to this, I was like, my jaw dropped and I was just laughing hysterically. So he culminates it with like, oh, and then they perform these great rituals where you link your neurons with each other, and it's amazingly personal and sensual and spiritual, and so the leader of these celestial beings, she was this beautiful, the most beautiful being I've ever seen in my life. She was like 270 years old, and she was a virgin. And he looks at the camera and like pauses, like, it emphasizes she was, and then goes into this thing about how they had this intimate relationship with each other. And it's the most like cringing, like, so this interview is all a boast to that you had relations with this really pretty space alien when your boss was upset that you were getting attention? Is that it? And that's kind of what it ends at. And he's like, yeah. And then we went back home. And I've seen her again. And like, he's now like, it is one of the worst things. And like, but it's so funny because the whole time he's just building himself as like, he's so great. He's so awesome. And he's chosen. And when really this guy probably has, I'm so mean, probably has like no life and has to make this up to feel good about himself. Sorry, that was mean. I apologize, guys. Look, this hair is way too big. Who let me make this hair this big? Guys, this hair is way shorter. I mean, it's not shorter, but it's not so big. Flip. The Anarchist Surgeon reminds me of Lovecraft story, Mountains of Madness. It probably is. It's probably all stolen. Like, most conspiracies are all just like forms of good writing and good filmmaking. Like the big conspiracy that's been going around lately is that our world is a simulation. Like, our world is in a simulation. And like, hold up, because I've been saying this since I was like a kid, and you can ask my family, like my brothers, about this, is that I had this theory that the world had ended. Oh, I'm sorry, I've been talking so much. Anyway, so the world has ended, and this is my theory, and I was like 10 or 12 when I was talking to my brother. So I said, okay, so the whole world has ended. This is a computer program. We're living in a computer program, and there's only like 12 people that are left. And I'm one of the 12 people, and I'm here to rebuild Earth. But they don't want to traumatize me, so obviously I have to know. I can't know that, but I know. I mean, I've figured it out. I'm 12. I know what I'm talking about. Anyways, So I'm 12. What I'm getting at. And the idea is that everyone else is a computer program. They're a cyborg or a, you know, an NPC, right? They are not real. They're all a space program. And so I've been saying that for real. And that's basically what the conspiracy theory is now, is that this is made popular by Elon Musk, I think, because he tweeted out or said, yeah, it's probably very high the possibility that we're all in a computer program, which is cool, but like 12-year-old Matt figured that out a long time ago, bro. And anyways, I would just always say like, oh yeah, what about that person? I was like, yeah, computer program. That's a computer program. They're all computer programs. You know, it was all in good fun. But now that Elon Musk is on board, I'm like, maybe not. I like Elon Musk. There's nothing wrong with Elon Musk. But, you know, he stole my idea, so I can't like him. Beware the one-eyed man with the crows. Ugh. It's all true for sure. So Avatar. Yes, it's basically Avatar. The world is a simulation. So yeah, it probably is a simulation. But you know what? It's not too bad. I mean, if you guys had like pizza, that's cool. But it's basically kind of like the Matrix. I mean, they're all stolen. That's what I was getting at. That basically this idea isn't new. It's stolen from the Matrix, which was great. I recently watched the Matrix, and you know, I'm not gonna tell a story. Never mind. Basically, I watched the Matrix with someone who ended up talking about how this is real and blah 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 blah. I'm like, okay, good. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna get into more details than that. I don't know. Moon's also fake. But these are all like the fun conspiracies. The conspiracies that I don't like to talk about are like all the ones that kind of circulate topical events, you know, such as COVID, and the QAnon conspiracies are just horribly depressing because they've become so real to some people. Let me clarify why. Is that they've ruined some people to the point of no return, it feels like. I mean, and I speak from experience of knowing people that I don't think I'll ever get back, which is really sad, you know. So that's not fun to talk about. Anyways, let's talk about the fun stuff again. Oh, thank you, ZBrush Princess. Yeah, you know, it's been a long spell since, you know, really streaming, but I'm trying to kickstart myself because I feel like I've been in a long funk for a long time. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I'm pretty sure everyone's kind of experienced this, depending on your like level of lockdown. Of like, I consider myself like an introvert extrovert, where I would say I'm probably a 60% introvert, which is funny because I really like to talk and I really like people, but there's a point where it's just too much, and I get to that point probably faster. So I probably consider myself more of an introvert than extrovert, but I still gain a lot of energy from people and not being around people, and also, you know, working from home for the past year, which is crazy that we've been doing this for a year. that it's really wearing on me to just be in the same spot. And I've had to figure out like just a better system of what, works for me. And for me, I've had to literally find just a different place to do my free stuff, like my Redbeard stuff. Besides when I'm not teaching, when I'm not recording or streaming, I should say. But if I'm just like doing my sketches, my warm-up sketches, or my, 3D work, I have a Surface Pro, what is it? A Mobile Studio Pro. And I do my ZBrush on that, but I make sure that I'm not in my office. I make sure that I'm somewhere else. And it took me a long time to figure out like that I needed to change up my scenery and how important that was to more of my mental health, just to regulate like not getting stuck in the same repetitive into the closet I go to work, and then out of the closet I go. And also like, finding a better work-life balance where, I'm married and have 4 boys, and I used to just work my full day and then instantly jump up and start being a dad. And it was really quite exhausting. I remember just being tired for the first like 4 or 5 months of this. And it's just because there was I never had a transition time. I always used to have a transition time where I would, my schedule was I would drive to a coffee shop and I would work. I would do my warm-up sketches or my warm-up sculpts at a coffee shop, and then, just kind of warm up my brain, shake out the cobwebs, keep Matt happy. And then I would go into work, and it would be, I'd go into work and I'd, go from being a dad to transitioning to work. And then after work, I would have my drive home, which was, not very long, but it was still a transition, which was very necessary. And it took me a while to figure out that I really needed that transition. So now what I do mostly is I finish my day's work, and then before coming up and like jumping into being a dad for the rest of the night, I try to, go on a walk or go get the mail, nothing that's long, it's only what, 5 minutes, but that 5 minutes is really helpful to me, at least. So simulation is a pretty old idea too. Think about the Mayan Hindu philosophy. Yes. See, they're all kind of like old philosophies that are still like circulating, which is pretty cool actually, Yes, it's really nice to let the artistic stuff take over. My boys are awesome. They're crazy cool. My 2 oldest, so I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old who are my 2 oldest, and they've been growing out their hair for like the past year, and it is the coolest. They've got this long, like it's to their shoulders or longer, and just, it's so cool. Like I wish I were them so badly. So they'll never know how like jealous I am. I mean, they will. I tell them all the time, actually. I'm like, oh man, I wouldn't give for your flipping hair. And they're like, shut up, Dad, you're the worst. They don't. They're actually cool. But they do make fun of me, which is also great. Let's pose these eyes. We're just going to start posing this stuff just a little bit. That's the look. Now her eyes are just like perfect spheres, so moving them is like really, really easy. I'll eventually, you know, get in and start putting some concaveness and like actually sculpting out the eyes a little bit. I mean, depending, the render on this, I'm debating on like what I want to do, is how far I want to like push this to cinematic quality. I'm going to put these in a folder called glasses. Just do a little subtle expression to her. So the key to expressions is asymmetric expressions. You know, you don't want a completely symmetrical. So with her, if you look down, you know, she's really just maybe a subtle, tiny smile, but she's more invested in like what she's reading. So it's not something huge, but I'm going to push that smile up a little bit onto her far side. So it may be something you won't see on the first, like if I'm trying to hit this as my render, I'll probably do a turntable with this. Ooh, yoink. Adjust my focal shift too much. So I want to bring this up. That will come, or, you know, her nostrils, everything kind of goes up together. So if this goes up, this is going to go up. If this, I mean, if her corner of her mouth goes up, her nose will go up a little bit, and this will also go up, her bottom eyelid. But I also want to bring kind of this shape to her too, where this side is longer and stretched and this side is pinched. So if I bring this cheek up just a little bit with the nostril, just a hair. This is not an extreme expression. Like this is, you know, the subtlety of expression, I would say. Where I'm going to bring my control shift just stopped working. My keyboard just stopped working. Hold on. Fixie. Ooh, I see. Okay, watch Ratatouille just asked. Hey Matt, I'm kind of struggling with FiberMesh doing hair. Am I supposed to do small pieces to make it work? Because it looks like public in the top of the model. Okay, so I've got some opinions on the FiberMesh. In my opinion, there's two ways to do FiberMesh well. And yes, the first way is to just do it in really small segments in really controlled areas. So like you would do a group that's, if I'm, drawing it out, maybe that size or that size. And that's the amount that you're going to do it well in FiberMesh. If my other The other way to do it well is to not do FiberMesh. FiberMesh is a cool thing, but if you have to touch FiberMesh at all, and I mean like modify it, in my experience, it's not worth hassling when with the quality of output that you're getting, with the amount of input that you're trying. And I'm probably going to get banned for saying stuff like that. But I don't think FiberMesh is great unless it's on default. Like if I turn on FiberMesh and I do click and it looks great and I don't have to modify it after that, then yeah, it's great. Like doing fuzz or facial hair is really easy. But doing like styled hair, that is a lot more, it requires a lot more control. And this is just some, I've played around with like XGen and done a fair amount of research and dive into some other grooming applications. And it's just not the same experience. So most production places won't use FiberMesh. If it's just for like personal renders and stuff, you'll probably get a better experience with rendered, like sculpted in hair, like what I'm doing here. But again, let me just clarify that this has been my experience. This is not necessarily everyone's experience with it. So don't kill me, Pixologic. Oy. Where did that hair go? She's got a little cross-eyed, a little too cross-eyed. I know she's looking at something close. We're just going to bring that up just a little bit. That's better. Anyways, I hope that answered your question. And sorry. How do I do real hair then? XGen is a good way to start going about it. If you're doing just fur or fuzz, you could still use FiberMesh just fine. Have I ever used hair particle system in Blender for making realistic hair? No, but I may be looking into it. I'm trying to just transcend from FiberMesh to that. Yeah, I've seen some stuff and it looks really promising. So there's some really cool stuff to learn the software's interface. Yeah, that's my struggle right now, to be honest. Hello, I'm sure you get this all a million times. I'm saving up for ZBrush. What would you recommend I use in the meantime? Monthly with ZBrush Core or something else? So I would recommend, if you can swing it, ZBrush Core, definitely. I'm actually just a big proponent of just save up for the full thing. Like ZBrush, I mean, if you could even do a month to month on the ZBrush, the full ZBrush would be cool. Or, I mean, Pixologic is amazing. And I don't think I can stress this enough, is that I think I bought I bought my copy of ZBrush in 2011, and I haven't paid for an update since, and it's returned itself 100,000 billion times fold for what I paid for it. You know, the constant updates, the constant user support. I don't think, you know, when you think of like, I'm going to compare it to Maya, which they release a new version every month and they charge you full price for every flippin' version. Like, it's unrealistic to stay up to date with that. Like, there's no way. But Pixologic, you know, they are constantly striving to make really good changes, updates, and you know, they're really easy to, like, when there are problems, they're quick to answer. So if you can save up for the full, I would do that. If not, the core is good. If you want to just start sculpting around, if you just want to start sculpting around, but if you really want to learn, like if you really want to dive in to like getting some learning 3D, learning sculpting, there's really like, this is the Pixologic or ZBrush, the full package is just the way to go. Not to discourage like the core. I think the core has some really cool stuff and is valuable, but you know, it may be a little bit of, I mean, if you're looking just for a stepping stone, it's probably fine. But if you're looking to really dive into 3D modeling, full ZBrush is just the way to go. That's not right. Hair. Let's put all the hair together. Folders is my best friend. I want to make her face just a little bit more round, especially from like this angle. She's gets a little bit more concaved. So I'm going to just start pushing little tweaks. The key with faces and expressions and it's just not to be over heavy-handed with some stuff. The full month is $40 a month. Yeah, that's. I wonder if you just save up and get the whole thing, yo. Oh yeah, it's only maybe $10 a month. So yeah, I mean, you definitely, because the month to month is cool. Like you could at least try it and see if you like it. I mean, I do that with a lot of different things. Is all, if there's a subscription to something, I will most likely get the subscription first, and then, you know, if I'm sold after a month or so, I'll get the whole thing or get the full package. But it is definitely an investment, so let's not take that out of it. Cheekbones are sitting just a little low. And if you are looking to do character stuff, I do highly recommend just anatomy, reference and anatomy study. Can't get enough of that. Well, thank you so much. Folders is the best feature, yes. pull this out just a bit more. I found I'm making a ton of chibis. I draw a lot already. Got my characters lined up. Sweet. That's awesome. Are you planning on doing any like 3D printing as well? So I feel like the fun thing about like doing chibi stuff, and especially in 3D, is you could bust out those and print those, and it would just, they're so cool. They would be like the perfect minifigs pretty much, or the perfect vinyl figures. So I probably got another like 15 minutes tonight. So if anybody has any questions, remember to follow ZBrush Live on YouTube and Twitch and all the other dealies that it's on. If you have questions, feel free to put it in the comments section of the videos that are recorded. And they're actually pretty good at responding and answering those questions. Oops, I did it again. Flipping Free Britney. When is my next stream? So I stream, currently I'm on like a 2-week, every other week. So it should be in 2 weeks on Wednesday, which I don't know when that is, but if you're around for the stream, I love people coming back and, you know, joining, and, you know, I'll have some more conspiracies to talk about. But they're also, you know, all these streams are recorded, so you'll be able to catch them again. Oh, I didn't even make her sandwich. What did I do? Would this hair work for games, or would you need to cut it into cards? It depends on the game. So a little bit about me, Make Believe TV, is I work for Epic Games. Nothing that I have shows that. So I work for Epic Games, and, you know, currently working on the game Fortnite. And we don't use hair cards, we use modeled in hair. So it really depends on the games, like, but there's, you know, compared to like Uncharted or you know, there's several games that use hair cards, Horizon Zero Dawn. So it really doesn't, it matters, I guess, on the game that you're making it for. With this, I don't think I would use hair cards. unless I'm going into, if I want to make this like a cinema final render, what I would probably do is actually not use hair cards, but I would probably take it into XGen and model it out there. And then render it in either like Redshift or Arnold. Probably Arnold. Oh, World of Tanks. That's awesome. I could never have the patience to work on AAA games, though. It could be nice, but less stressful job and would make me happier. You know, it depends on the studio. ZBrush Princess. I've worked for studios that, that just care about pushing out stuff as quick as possible. And I've worked for studios that have truly cared about the quality of life of their employees. And let me tell you that Epic Games is the company that cares about your quality of life. And I say that like with no like lying or trying to bump up the studio or anything. But like honestly, I have never worked for a company that has cared or shown that they've cared repeatedly as much as Epic Games has done for me. So it really depends on studios. There are studios that will take advantage of you. I've worked for those studios. And it happens that both of the studios that I would say treated their employees like commodities instead of valued people, both of them shut down after I've left. But that is a problem, I would say, in the industry, is that like some people take it as a privilege to work in the industry, and therefore you should make sacrifices like working overtime or being paid less or the number of things that come with like the glamour of oh well, you're working in the industry, so you're doing this because you love it. But like, you love it because it's also going to make you not go crazy too, right? Let's do a quick save. I'm going to do one thing, try to hit one more thing before I go. Hello, looks very good. I want to learn how to render. Which graphics card do you recommend if my budget is $300? I bet you would be okay with a NVIDIA 1080. I know that there's a lot faster video cards out right now. It depends on what you're rendering into. So I would say that if you're rendering in something that's GPU, like a video card, which is mostly going to be, Arnold or even Keyshot does GPU rendering now, that you'll want, maybe a 1080 is probably what you would probably be the minimum, but would still get your job done. But it may not be the fastest, but it would still do a pretty good job. Any tips on how to get into the industry? All I see anymore are positions for senior and lead artists, even at smaller studios. Yeah, that's a tough one. I think the best way to get into the industry, and especially as someone who maybe doesn't have any industry experience, is one, I would just try to get into any garage place you can. I mean, that's what I did. I got into any studio that would take me. But chances are wherever you go, like, for example, I'll just give my example is I got into a really small studio as my first job. And I just had a decent portfolio that just showed that I could sculpt really well. I could do low poly stuff, and I could texture. It was really core, simple, but didn't bloat my portfolio at all. So I got a job at a garage studio, which was a nightmare, which is one of the companies that didn't really treat people well, I would say. But maybe not because of the studio's fault, but maybe because of how they were doing stuff. Anyways, that's a whole nother story. Anyways, but the things that I was doing at that studio wasn't going to get me a job anywhere else. And I say that because we were cranking out a bunch of crappy iPhone games in 6-week turnarounds. So like none of the stuff that I was getting studio experience or industry experience, but I wasn't getting portfolio pieces that was going to get me into a AAA title studio. So what I would do is I would work, crazy hours at that place, which sucked. And then I would go home and I would work on personal stuff at night whenever I'd have free time. And I would develop my portfolio so that when another position opened up, which eventually one did, I had a pretty decent portfolio and industry experience, which that helped me get into my next job. And then after that, I realized again, like, okay, I'm now stepped up one and I want to go up more. And so I was doing the same thing as I was still pushing the stuff. I was getting the industry experience that you needed on paper, but I was still padding my portfolio with stuff that would make me desirable to studios that had that. So really, I just think just get your portfolio into a solid place, get on Instagram, get on ArtStation, get your stuff being seen. Don't bloat your portfolio, whatever it is, whether it's an ArtStation or not. Bloat Instagram, that's fine. But try not to bloat your actual portfolio. And then, and then just slowly start working in, and maybe it's not a quick road, but it is, in my experience, it is a very rewarding one. Yeah, video renders are hard even with a 270, but like single page stuff that's different. Or single image stuff. We had only DeviantArt that had weird wafu stuff. That's awesome. ArtStation is great though. Only through Twitch artists can discover new stuff and talk about issues and solving problems. Yeah. Any tips for finishing a character? I tend to get to 90% done, then spend forever doing the last bit and sometimes never finish. Honestly, Salty, I'll just call you Salty. That is character art in a nutshell, that you'd work that 90% normally comes maybe fast or at a regular speed, but that last 10% for every character that I've ever worked on is the longest part. So really it's just pushing through and then getting okay to calling it done, because done is better than perfect every single time. And this is something that my wife is like, she pesters me a lot about it. She's like, but is it done? And I'm like, oh, I just want to do, if I just do one more, then it's like, but it's done. You're done. No, you don't know more. And so I still struggle like letting go of the little things of, okay, is it done? We're going to fix these legs real quick. Oops. But yeah, it's kind of like a personal battle, to be honest, to get done. But it's just you have to just be able to at some point be comfortable letting go. Um, and just calling it done, just letting go. And I'm not very good with it still. But with deadlines, it gets easier. When it's personal projects, it's harder still. Like I could easily sculpt on this character forever and be just fine with it. Oh boy. Let's see. I was thinking about getting into the CG spectrum or another very high school because they have strong connections. I think that's also very true. That's one good thing about going to like an accredited school or a accredited program is their connections. I know the school that I went to, they did have some, I didn't, it was like not a technical school. I mean, it wasn't an official school. It was like a 9-month program, but they did have connections at, the Windows, what was it? The Windows game studio in Seattle. And I think they even had me go in or wanted me to go in for an interview, but I wanted to try working to see if I could find a place in Utah first. Even if it was a smaller studio, and that's what I ended up doing actually. I'm gonna fix these legs to like a 70%. Let's see. I think the highest standards are too much of a pressure working at a triple A game artist. Yeah, I mean that can definitely be true. I mean, I think there's whether it's a triple A artist or whether it's just the industry in general, but it is definitely an industry where you have to keep up on your game. Like you are expected to keep up on updates, keep up on your craft as much as you can. And that's definitely something that's very real. I mean, but I think that's also true with most professions. I mean, my dad's a dentist and he goes to a ton of conferences every year to learn the new techniques, and it's all kind of relative. So yeah, I think we do have to strive to. There is definitely pressure because there's people that are learning and knowing just as fast, if not faster, than you are, and I think I get that. Because now I'm like more of an aged person in the industry, which is a weird thing to think about. That these kids that are coming in are fast and they know all these cool stuff, and like here I am just using my move brush all day, which I love. But I still I still take my time and I learn the updates and I learn the different programs and stuff to keep everything as much updated in my tool bags as I can. Let's see. Yeah, you gotta keep growing your personal stuff. Health does come first. That's very important. Thanks for the advice, by the way. Much appreciated. Glad to know that I'm not alone. Huzzah! I'm thrilledly enjoyed the stream. Thank you for the advice and the constructive thoughts. Yeah, I mean, thanks for the comments tonight, guys. You guys are chatty. This is a lot of fun. We're going to call this, we're going to pause right here for tonight. Just because I need to go to bed. So I got an early morning tomorrow. Anyways, but this was a lot of fun. Thanks for all the comments, for all the questions, and for the conspiracy theory banter. Quite a bit of fun. We'll catch you in a couple of weeks. Again, subscribe on YouTube on the Pixel Live, there's ZBrush Live. Also, follow me on Instagram, _Redbeard, and check out my Gumroad courses on gumroad.com/Redbeard. Okay, have a good night, everyone, and happy sculpting.